Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our weekly DevSync. We'll go around and share the updates from the development team. Serge, do you want to start?
Sure. Okay, so on Relayer, regarding new parachains, subsocial endpoint seems to be okay for now. Sakura is not working and there was no response from them. And I created a small PR to add subsocial to archives. Another thing I was working is feed validation. So previously I had compiler issue and it seems to be okay now, but now I have another like Rust trait generics problem. So I need to do some more research to improve my Rust knowledge. And I also tried to play a little bit with near NFT smart contract. Um, I also had some problems with compiling it. Apparently, they don't really support M1 processor, but they have Gitbot, which is like a remote environment, and you can run smart contracts there, which is pretty cool. I managed to make it work on Gitbot, but I couldn't find any UI application which interacts with the contract because uh, they have a standard similar to like ERC 721, but they keep changing it. So all the applications that are like public in near examples repository, they are out of date. So yeah, probably I will have to build my own from scratch unless I find something more fresh. Uh, yeah, I guess that's all.
Okay, question to Serge from the team.
Yeah. So just to review, guys, if we can try to just summarize what we did last week and then also talk about what we're going to do this week, like kind of accomplishments and then objectives. So if I understand correctly, Serge, so we got new parachains deployed. We made some progress on feeds validation, but you're still blocked there. And you did some experimentation with near smart contracts. You also had this stuff around the not ink, state mining smart contracts as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So next steps, I will keep working on feed validation, and I will start building UI for the near smart contract app, and the application, the React application that interacts with Palette Unix, like state mine, state mint. I still need to add Subspace JS support and make it according to the Lucid diagram we discussed on Thursday. So integration basically with Subspace and some batches of transactions instead of like atomic transactions.
Okay. And what do you guys like? What's the 3-day window that you guys have assigned for this near hackathon?
No, it's 1 month. It starts on Wednesday, and it's 1 month. But yeah, we discussed it. I will just allocate 3 days,
Okay.
and yeah, since it's like for our educational purposes, first of all, maybe we won't even submit anything. I don't know.
Okay, well, we would still like to submit something for sure. We have a project that we need to accomplish. That's the point of being in the hackathon. But I don't want it to become a thing that's like we're just continuously working on throughout the month. We just need to really be disciplined about time boxing this so that we don't we don't spend too much time on it.
Yes.
Okay.
I would try to fit it into 3 days.
Okay. So the priority is going to be getting the example. Did you and Leo have a chance to link up to talk about how to do the examples repository for the Subspace for Metabalt or for the NFT storage?
No, not yet. Well, I mentioned earlier that I created a repository for this, the only example. for pilot uniques, and I think we can just use it for everything else. Just rename it. I will rename it after this meeting, and we can just keep adding applications to that repository.
Okay. Can you guys link up and discuss that just to make sure that it's clear?
Okay.
Just so there's, yeah. So that would be your priority is to get that NFT storage on Subspace working with in this example use case, and then feeds validation, and then lastly would be the near hackathon. If you don't do anything on the near hackathon this week, that's fine. We got a whole month. The most important thing is to get this example working, get this structure of this, of these examples themselves working, and then the feeds validation. I'd really like to see like a milestone achievement with the feeds validation this week. If you need help from Nazar or whoever to get that done, but we've been working on this for like over a month, and it doesn't seem like we just keep getting like stuck over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all my questions.
All right, then on a similar topic, let's proceed to Leo.
Sure. Well, from the last meet regarding infrastructure, we moved the development environment to New York. So it's now rebootstrapped and working everything in New York, all our environments. So we have all that standard done. And actually, I also, following search updates on the relayer, updated the front end for the production and development relayer. So we have all the parachains available up there. I also was working, doing some research and actually some Vue.js tutorials for the desktop. And I was updating this desktop Subspace desktop app with the latest Polkadot libraries. And I think that from the version 7 of the library, I have some new features and things to check to do this in a correct way. And I was also updating the library, the Subspace JS library, with this Polkadot, with this latest Polkadot updates, and also found some errors now building the library, and I have to fix those. I think that it's just some kind of missing rules in the TypeScript compiler with the new library. It's a full version from the 6.2 to the 7.1, I think. So there are several updates in there that could be breaking up all my integrations, but I think should be resolved, I think, this week. Yeah. And also I was working in adding these Subspace desktop rewards in a modular way in Vue. And I finally got some idea on how to do this. Basically, to be able to use the farmer data in different screens and not only in one, like it's working today. It's all in one screen, and I wanted to do something like a class that can be instantiated, and we can request the data from there in an easier way. And yeah, I think that I was working in that, and I hope to be working this week on those two things, and also checking if there are some new paradigms, as always, to update the front end. And yeah, I think that those are. And I was also having in my radar to coordinate with Serge this integration this week for the hackathon. So I was aware of that. Yeah, I think those are my updates for now.
I had a question about the old dev environment. I believe it was kind of fixed after relogin, or like login, logout, which was not necessary in the first place, but it kind of fixed the problem. So do we still need that environment for any reason, or can we just shut it down?
I think that's a search question. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Okay, so let's put into plan to wipe it this week, so you don't pay for it.
Okay, sure.
Other questions?
I
So
have one.
just to be
So
clear, we are going to have just the testing and the farmers, these 4 machines, right?
We have 2 test environments, we have 2 farm environments, and dev environment. This is 5. Ozgan?
yeah, my question was, so Leo, you said transferring data between pages, right? Interpage data sharing. Wouldn't local
Yeah.
storage be fine for that?
Sorry, the last.
There is a local storage option in Vue.js. Wouldn't it be enough?
Yeah, I am using also that, but the local storage I think is not reactive, so
Mhm.
you have to put and get, and every time you change, you have to request the data, and it's not really.
I'm not sure how much we need to invest in that, because I believe we had plans when we have this like new design, we'll probably like replace it with React, which you're all more familiar with. So maybe you can plan something there going forward instead of just trying to modify this further.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
I am doing
completely
something really simple. The thing is that all the code from the farmer rewards and the block processing was hard-coded in the last script. So I just moved
okay.
it, just extracted to a higher level to be used in different places. It's just that.
Okay. Other questions, anyone? All right. Ivan, you're next.
Sure, yeah. From the last week, I was actually reading about the storage side, especially related to the attacks on the proof of space and proof of replication consensus. So finished with that. As for this week, I'm planning to finish the paper which related to the academia, distributed hash table, then move on to the S academia. After that, I plan to read about the fly clients and move on to the execution side, and decoupled execution side of the consensus. That's all the updates from my side.
And you also did some code reviews. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, but also.
And I believe you also finished the example that you were working on, right?
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, yeah, finished with the AMA, which was related to the Uniswap v2 implemented in the substrate. So yeah, finished with the substrate learning overall.
All right, questions to Ivan? Okay, Justin, you're next.
Yeah. So last week, I focused on getting everyone up and running on the FarmNet. As far as the team goes, that is successful. As far this morning, we had 13 nodes going. There was one error with the CUDA NVIDIA on Todd's side. Sent that over to Ozgun, and I think he's actually already got that fixed. There was another error too that I actually just noticed this morning that I think it actually might just be not really an error. It's more of a substrate thing that I just wanted to bring up. Is that multi-threaded server is not available on Windows, so it falls back to a single thread. I just noticed that this morning, starting my node back up from over the weekend. And I wasn't sure if we wanted to get that submitted to our GitHub or if it's something that would be better submitted upstream to the Substrate repository. Other than that, though, my main focus was the AMA and just community planning. Got a lot of stuff that me, Skylar, and Diana have been working on. Hopefully we'll be able to present here, not this Friday, but the Friday after, once the community all hands is coming up. Moving forward for this week, I'll be focusing on getting all of the ambassadors running up on the FarmNet, and then reaching out to some Discord and Telegram community members to see if we can get any of those people that may be interested. especially after this weekend. I'm sure you guys all saw we had a pretty major influx of people, so that should be pretty easy to do at this point, luckily. Working on slightly improved version of the documentation, just some feedback that I've been given from Jeremiah and a few of the other team members, just to make that a little bit more seamless. Once I get that updated, I was going to reach out to Ray. He's one of our investors, and we will be going to get him up and running. Hopefully, by the end of all of that, we should hit about 25 farmers. That's my main goal for the end of the week, is having 25 people up on the FarmNet. And then one other thing I want to focus on as well is getting some language channels added to the Discord. You know, some like Russian, Ukrainian, Chinese channels for some of the global members. Because we are getting to that point now where we're starting to see like a lot of Russian chat popping up, or even last week we were seeing a lot of Chinese popping up as well. So it might be beneficial to kind of start providing those people different places to speak in their native languages. And yeah, one other question too I had is if we wanted to start code signing the binaries that you're building, Nazar. That way that we don't get like pop-ups and stuff like that on the Macs and the Windows whenever it's attempted to run. I don't think Windows gives you a pop-up, but the Mac heavily encourages you to throw it in the trash instead of running it.
I think on one hand, yes, but on the other hand, we'll probably want people to run the desktop version, which will be signed. So this is more like a temporary measure. Not sure how much resources we need to invest into it.
It's something.
I don't know
It's
if-
something I think that we should. Yeah, it's once we fix it, it's done. It just works. So I think it will be long term a good investment, just to make the download experience or the installation experience smoother. Because it's kind of like a 17-step process right now to install the on a Mac at least to do it, and it's not a good user experience.
It should be
Okay,
doable.
Yeah, it should be. I didn't do it ever, but can you create a ticket on Subspace so we can follow the progress there?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I came across a few different ways to do it over GitHub Actions while I was doing research for the Subspace desktop. So
yeah, just create a ticket, put all of the like research items you have, and I think someone will pick it up.
okay. And last question I had was just about the single-threaded node on Windows.
Can you elaborate what you mean by single-threaded node?
So when you first start up the node, it gives you all of the version by Subspace, all that information. But then it says multi-threaded server is not available on Windows, falling back to single thread.
Is it
And
like
then-
in logs somewhere?
Yeah, here I'll send let me pull up my log here.
I haven't seen it, but I never run it on Windows either, so. It's not
And that's
very
why I was
surprising.
bringing it up, because I had a feeling, most of you guys hadn't run it on Windows, so you probably hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah, I think it's something from it must be something from Substrate. I don't remember us putting the message like that anywhere, but if that is in Substrate, there should be like a link or explanation why. So again, like you can create a ticket in our repository with like research question, and we'll take a look.
Perfect. That was everything else.
So that's not a bug. That's just a weird message you're getting.
Yeah, it was something I hadn't noticed prior, and I did notice that like it takes a little bit longer for my node to sync on Windows than it does compared to like Linux, for example.
Maybe just networking is single-threaded or something.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. We'll figure it out. Any other questions to Justin? Okay, Ozgun.
Okay. So first of all, it's good that I think we are revising the documentation for the farmer, because I also think it's kind of messy. I was trying to, it was on my plan actually, but other things were more prioritized, so I skipped it. However, here's my notes. So as Justin said, we had a small bug on the GPU plotter side on the farmer library. It got fixed. It was a small fix. The PR is merged. Now it's fine. It's working without any problem. But along the debugging process, I noticed one more thing on the slot 256.189 side. So there could be a possibility, which is fortunately never happened till now, that how to say it? That it won't allocate memory if the remaining pieces were very less, because we are doing the encoding in chunks, in rounds. So without the technical detail, there could be a possible bug in there. I also fixed it. Nazar suggested another optimization. I'm also going to test it. I implemented it. I'm just going to test it. If it works, I will update the PR on the slot 256.189 side. And while I was looking at the desktop farmer, I also noticed there were two issues. One of them related to Windows. The icon sizes or resolutions were not correct. I retested it. It worked fine on my machine. I believe the problem is disappeared. We will check again with Justin and Diana to just confirm it. And if it is so, if it is disappeared, we will close the issue. The second one is related to Linux. It doesn't compile actually on Linux, the Subspace desktop. It creates an error, and it's about GDK. It's creating a problem from one of the dependencies. I tried to trace the dependency tree. I couldn't actually locate what is causing that. So that's just a hanging question for me. We did some pair coding with Nazar and resolved the LRU commitment problem. We are keeping the LRU for the moment. I have another optimization on top of that, but I need to convince Nazar. But the good thing is it's not buggy anymore. The tests are passing all the time, which is the critical thing. And other than that, for the plotting progress on the Subspace desktop side, I understand the design principles I need to follow on the Rust side. So tomorrow I'm going to start implementing it. And other than that, like this week's goal will be to implement this plotting tracking and then implement it in the farmer library side and then call it in the Subspace desktop in the front end. So this is this week's goal. And yeah, that's all on my side.
I have a question about the compilation error.
Yeah.
It's only on your machine, it's not in CI, right?
Compilation error for Ubuntu, you mean desktop, Subspace desktop?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's only in my machine.
I mean, it's not failing in CI, so whatever dependencies are installed there, probably you just don't have it.
Probably. Here is the link to issue. So many people encountered it. John Heater.
Okay, but that was
Justin,
like a few months ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but that error is about like runtime error. It's not a compilation error.
Sorry, you are right. After compilation, it starts to run, but it crashes immediately without anything appears. So technically it's a runtime. Yeah.
Okay. I see. All right, interesting.
Yeah.
Did we get a release out of the desktop farmer last week, Özkan?
No.
Okay. So is a weekly release cycle too aggressive? Do we need to do a bi-weekly release cycle?
I actually don't know how to release something in GitHub, so I will learn it. Weekly release is, I don't know, maybe not aggressive. I will learn it and try to do it starting from this week.
It's super easy. On the Subspace desktop, we can link up and I can show you.
Yeah, okay. Great, thank you.
Okay. So this week, your primary goal is going to be to get a release out of the desktop farmer that has the plotting process integrated in the user interface.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, we'll talk about that in a lot more detail on Thursday, but let's focus on that one this week. All right.
Okay, any
Yes.
other questions? Tosgan? Okay, next we have Lu Cheng.
Okay, so last week I was mainly working on two things. One is to finish the draft PR for checking the local execution receipt against the one received from the network. Hopefully, I have adjusted all the comments. It's now waiting for another review. The other thing is continuing researching the intermediate execution proof or the extrinsic execution proof. Yeah, as I shared in the Discord, and I filed a GitHub discussion in the Substrate repo. Based on the feedback from the parity guys, the approach I used initially, which is to mimic the pattern of generating the block execution proof, it doesn't work. So I thought we might somewhat get stuck there. But fortunately, later I found another way to create the extrinsic execution proof, which was introduced to be used in the Substrate Lite client. I have did some experiment with some modifications to Substrate. This way, I have made it compile, but I have to verify if it really works. So yeah, that's the current state, and for this way, continuing the extrinsic execution proof to verify if this way really works, and I found a critical bug with the decoupled execution implementation, which is the executive validator node or the authority node and the sync node. They have a different state after the execution, maybe after 2 blocks. So yeah, we have to figure it out and fix this. And we also need to really need to add a test framework for the decoupled execution on the series, the kind of one problem. Yeah, it's my updates.
Do you have any hints as to why execution results are different on different nodes?
I haven't looked into that problem. The execution is extrinsic execution proof is not my priority. So
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Other questions? Okay. On my side, talking about the code, I finally submitted pull request with the Subspace networking crate introduction. It's basically a simple networking API which allows you to listen on some address or multiple addresses. It allows you to join the network of other peers. They will self-discover each other, and it will also allow to fetch data. The way it works, it basically uses built-in functionality of Kademlia for getting values, but instead of getting values the way it's supposed to work by default with in-memory storage or something, it actually is using a custom record store and basically defers the retrieval of data to some custom implementation. This way we can just go into RocksDB database, for instance, and retrieve something from there. There are some discussions, I think I opened 1 pull request, 2 discussions, and 2 issues, or maybe more, in various repositories of peer-to-peer. There are some discussions about making this record store asynchronous, so we can actually do some interesting stuff instead of just blocking everything on the networking. So there is still work to be done there, but I think we can introduce it and already have some way to retrieve pieces, and we can work on compact proof of application and other things like that. So it should be a step forward. It's not the ultimate version, but we're getting there, I think. So that was the biggest goal. We had some, I think, productive pair coding with Ozgun on the issues, and yeah, and lots of other stuff which are not really code related, like design discussions and reviews and everything. Any questions to me from the team? Yeah, and I guess I'll be working more on network this week, so we can actually use it. This is just like introduction of the crate with example, but we need to start using it.
So are we going to replace the current networking infrastructure from Substrate in the future?
In the future, probably, but not really anytime soon. There is still a lot of work to be done. I was actually designing the network looking at the way it works in Substrate. They have some different requirements. They've really integrated a lot of domain-specific logic into the implementation, so it's like very coupled. But I think eventually we'll have to do something like that, but it's not like immediate priority. We just need to get going. Yeah. Okay, Jeremiah, I think you have something you wanted to share.
Yeah. So my goal for the week is the R&D plan. I was working on that a lot last week, in addition to the meta services plan. And there's been a lot of preliminary work done on that, but there's nothing that's really concrete or fleshed out. So Nazar and I are going to be working on that a lot throughout the week. We've identified a lot of open questions. We're trying to prioritize those and trying to come up with answers to the remaining open questions. We're also working on a master architecture document, which has different chapters for different layers of the stack to try to compile some of the different specs that we have, some of the ideas that we have, some of the questions and issues that we have into one place. We have been working on the beacon chain specification as it relates to sharding, trying to get that nailed down. We're having a discussion with David about that later today. And we're also working on identifying some of the core primitives that the blockchain APIs, or the APIs, I guess, that the blockchain will expose, as that relates to Subspace meta services, and also as that relates to some things which we might sort of take for granted when we think about like accounts and how execution will work and how state storage will work. But as you know, we've learned, people in other ecosystems are doing this in a very different way, like Near and Solana, for example, than the way Substrate does it, where the account is more of a first-class citizen than the contract. And we're trying to figure out how we're going to have that work in Subspace, and which execution framework we're going to use, how that's all going to be coupled together. So not really anything about the consensus or execution at a high level, but more just sort of the more specific implementation questions we're trying to sort out, so we can have a solid ground to move on from. Yeah, so the goal this week is to have the R&D plan ready for the presentation on Friday, and we'll be working with Lu Chang and with Ozgun on the parts of that you guys need to be involved in. We'll talk about that more at the protocol discussion tomorrow. Any questions for me?
Okay. Thanks, everyone. It seems like we had a very productive week, and I hope we'll have this week even more productive. Everyone on YouTube, thanks for watching. We'll see you in 7 days. Bye.